Hi everyone, and welcome to another video. So today we're finally gonna do the render of the Mr. Incredible character. So let's get started. And as you can see, I've imported all my objects in Maya, and I'm ready to render. But before we do that, there are a couple of things that are still left to do, and I want to import, or should I say, I want to bake a normal map for the face details, and another one for the arms, the gloves details that I sculpted in ZBrush. The rest of the body doesn't really have sculpted details, so it can stay like this. Maybe just I'm gonna maybe add a level of subdivision just to get it smoother, but what I need is to bake on top of this model here the normal map that I with the detail that I've sculpted in ZBrush. So let's do that. So here we are in ZBrush again, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select my head mesh, click on solo. So this I'm gonna make sure that this is the highest resolution, and if you remember, we had a layers here, one with the with this I don't know if it's able to see, but one that has this noise. Let me see if I change the material, if it's if you can see a little bit better. Oh right, the material is baked. Well, let's see, maybe you can see it from here. So as you can see, this layer noise, if I uncheck it, the noise goes away. And so let me check it back. So everything is ready, and I'm gonna go down to the export. I'm gonna uncheck group, and I'm gonna click export. And in here, maybe I'm gonna create a new folder. I'm gonna call this bake. And in here, I'm gonna click here and call this head high poly, and click save. So ZBrush is going, you can see up here, ZBrush is going through as doing its thing. There's a way that you can just bake the texture, create the normal map and the color map from ZBrush, but I prefer personally to do that in XNormal, because I just like better the results that I get. So I'll show you how to do that in a second. So now he's writing the OBJ, and bear in mind that this one has no texture. What you see here is just the poly paint that we did in a previous video. So this is done. Okay, and now I'm gonna do the same with the gloves. So I'm gonna select the right glove here, and if you remember, the glove has a little bit of detail. It's nothing extreme, just a little bit, but I would like to get these back in my render. So again, I'm gonna scroll down to the export, uncheck group, and click export. And this is gonna be right glove high poly, click save. It's writing the up. Okay, done. And last is gonna be the left glove, which is for some reason it's called right glove, but whatever. So this one, again, export option, uncheck group, export, and this is going to be left glove high poly, and export. Okay, now let's bring back X normal, and I'm going to show you how to bake the texture in there. Actually, I forgot to do something, so I need to also export this object, the low poly object, from Maya, but I want to show you something. So these are the UVs that I've done. So I've got the eyes and the head, they're here, and I've rearranged these UVs compared to the first UV layout video, just to give, I just basically rescale the head to take bigger space. And what I want to do, what I want to point out, that this texture, these UVs are within the UV space from 0 to 1. But if I, for example, select my gloves, the gloves are actually there. So in order to UV layout to work properly, these have to be, they must be within the UV space from 0 to 1. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select my UVs, and I'm gonna go to transform here, and with a unit of 1, I'm gonna click this button here to move by 1 tile. So now the UVs are in the space from 0 to 1, as well as the head UVs. So I'm gonna select the head, and I'm gonna export selection, and in the same folder I'm gonna export this as head low poly, and I'm gonna do the same with the eyes. I actually forgot to export the eyes from ZBrush. I'm gonna do that later. So the eyes are here. I'm gonna press G to redo the last command. So these are gonna be eyes low poly, and I'm gonna do, I can do these both at the same time. Select both my gloves and press G, and these are gonna be gloves low poly. Alright, now I can go to X normal and start baking. Okay, so here's X normal, and here's my OBJ. I also went back to ZBrush and exported the eyes high poly. So I have the eyes, the both the gloves here, the low poly ones. Then I have the left and right glove high poly, head low poly and high poly. So let's start. So let's start from the head. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna grab my head high poly. I'm gonna drag in here under the high definition meshes tab, and also I'm gonna scroll here, and by default this is checked. It says ignore per vertex color, but I'm gonna uncheck it because we actually want the vertex color to be baked as color map. So now I scroll down, low definition meshes, and I'm gonna grab my head low poly, drag it in here. And so since the scale at the moment is very small, I'm gonna go down here and change this 1 to 10, and I'm gonna do the same here. Default mesh scale, I'm gonna change this to 10 because this mesh is very small, and when you work with small meshes, sometimes X normal can have problems. So change that to 10, and let's go to baking options. So let's define the size of the texture. So I'm gonna go with 4K, and let's see, I'm gonna click here, and I'm gonna search for the folder in bake, and I'm gonna call this head and save. And then so I want the normal map. I don't need the ambient occlusion because we're gonna render, but I do need bake high poly's vertex color. So I click this one, anti-aliasing 4, it's fine. Okay, and actually I think before I bake, I think I've made a mistake in here. So this is not the correct place to put the scale, so I can put it back to 1. It's actually here. So it's here where it says mesh scale here. This needs to be turned into 10, and the same here. This can be 1, and mesh scale here have to be 10. That's it. Otherwise it's not going to affect this parameter. It's not going to affect this mesh. So I can go back to baking options and click on generate map. As you can see, now XNormal is generating. I did a test before. That's how I found out that the scale was wrong. So now it's rendering correctly. Very nice and clean normal map. We're just gonna probably need to adjust here around the nose and the mouth, and that's gonna be pretty easy. And now it's rendering the it's baking the color, the vertex color into our albedo map. So that's great. As you can see, very nice and clean texture, and it's almost done. Okay, perfect. All right, now let's do the same with, let's go here and clear meshes. Let's go the same with the eyes. So I'm going to drag my eyes eye poly. I'm going to go here and change the scale to 10 and ignore per vertex color uncheck. Now low poly, I'm going to drag the eyes low poly, and I'm going to keep the same option, except that this is going to be eyes, and I'm going to click generate map. This is going to bake the color of the eyes, basically. I don't actually really need the normal map for this. I just left it because it doesn't really take long. So okay, it has baked the eyes. Now let's go back and do the same once again for the arms, for the gloves. So clear these meshes here. So I'm gonna drag left glove and the right glove. Scroll here. I'm gonna change the scale again to 10 and 10. In this case, I can leave this because I don't need to bake the vertex color since there is no paint on the gloves. So go to my low definition meshes and gloves low poly, and I'm gonna go back here, set the scale to 10 as well. And baking options, I only want the normal map and I don't need the high poly color map. And I'm gonna go call this gloves and click generate maps. Okay, so as you can already tell, because the the arms are closed as a fist. I've got a lot of artifacts here, so we're gonna have to clean this up in Photoshop. So let's do that. Alright, so I'm in Photoshop, and I've imported my generated textures. So one thing I want to do here, as you can see, if I zoom, I have a lot of problems here. So I'm just gonna go and try to fix these areas very quickly. So I'm just gonna basically use this neutral color here, and I'm quickly gonna paint this area. I don't need to be super precise because I'm only interested basically in this detail here and this detail here, so the rest can be ignored. But let's do something very quick just to get rid of the main artifacts. So I'm gonna paint here, here, and let's do something again, doesn't need to be precise. Just gonna do something like this just to get rid of the main problems. And I'm gonna paint this area, paint here, remove these artifacts here like so, and here. And now basically I'm just gonna go and smooth this in like this, like so, because I want to keep these colors like this. Alright, just gonna blend in the normal, so I'm not gonna have weird artifacts. I'm gonna do something very quick and dirty, but it's probably gonna be enough, like so. Alright, again I'm just gonna paint in and blend these colors. These are the only parts that are gonna be visible, so something like that. Alright, okay. It's not the best work in the world, but it will do. And basically now I'm gonna redo this on the other side, and I'm gonna pause the video so you don't have to watch it the same thing. Alright, I'm back. So I did a bit of cleanup on the glove textures. As you can see, now it looks much better, and I've also cleaned up a little bit the area around the mouth here. So now the beauty of baking the texture with X-Normal is that if I go into channel, it also creates a perfect mask that I can use. So if I control click and select my mask, and then I go back here and use control shift J to transfer my selection into an empty empty layer like this, I can have my isolated mask. So in this case, actually, for the head, I don't really need to do this, because the head is gonna be the normal of the head is going to be on its own, but for example I do want to have the eyes in the same texture as the head, so I'm gonna Control Shift and drag these guys in here. So since they're white, it's a little bit difficult to see, so I'm gonna select my head, Control Shift J, and I'm gonna remove this layer. So I'm gonna create a black background just to see a little bit better. Now bear in mind that if I keep this texture as it is, you will see this you will see a black line around the edges of my UVs. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna merge these two layers together, and then I'm gonna go back to my filters, X normal, and there's this option here that is called Dilatation, and I'm gonna click that, and what this will do will allow me to extend a little bit the pixel of the border. So the max value here is 32. I'm gonna click on Do It, and in a few seconds you should see that there you go. Okay, so it might be difficult to see, so I'm gonna undo that. As you can see, undo, and oops, for some reason I can't redo that. So keep just to show you, if you take a look at the size of this eye here, there you go, now they're bigger. So basically I've increased by 32 pixels the border of this texture. So I can now save this. I'm gonna save this as head. This is gonna be the albedo, and save like this. This is fine as it is, so I'm gonna save this as head normal. So it's gonna be normal, and this is gonna be the one with the gloves. So gloves, I'm gonna save PSD, gloves normal. Alright, so I think I'm ready. So let's go back to Maya and let's start rendering. Okay, so here we are in Maya again, and we can finally start our render. So first thing we want to do, since this character is very small, as you can see, my grid is set in centimeters, so basically one of this square here represent 1 square centimeters. So our character is about, it's less than 4 centimeters wide, probably about 5 centimeters height. I don't really want this because I'm gonna render using Octane Render for Maya, and Octane Render is a physically based render, so it's always a good idea to use real world scale. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select all my element and I'm gonna group this, and I am going to create, for reference, so I'm gonna create like a box. Okay, and I'm gonna set the height of my box. Let's see, our character, I'm gonna assume that he's very big, so 190 centimeters might be a good size for our character. So this is gonna be our character height, and I'm just gonna scale him up roughly the same size. So let's bring the guy here and scale him up like that. It's gonna be, let's see, roughly the size of our box here. All right, and also, so basically we scale it 32 times, let's do 45, just it's gonna be very tall, and I'm gonna make a plane here, so I don't want his feet to go inside the zero plane. So let me bring this guy up just a little bit, that's fine. Okay, so don't need this plane anymore for now. Alright, so now our character has been rescaled, is probably about 195 centimeters tall, or about 6.4 feet if you're American. So he's fairly big, it's very tall. So now let's set up our scene. So let's make sure that, let's go to Window, Setting Preference, Plugin Manager, and let's make sure that, let's scroll down. Okay, Octane plugin is not loaded, so let's load it in. Give it a few seconds to load the plugin. Alright, loaded. And now let's go to our renderer setup. So let's choose Octane Render, and here it is. These are the options that we're going to play with. So first of all, let's move this to the side. I'm gonna need to do a couple of things in the scene. So I have a Octane rendered tab here, and I have few icons. So first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna click on this camera. This will create an Octane camera, so I'm gonna click that, and here's the camera. So if I go here, perspective camera 1, this is gonna be my Octane camera that I'm gonna use. Here it is. And also I'm gonna click on this icon here. This will create an Octane Sun and Sky environment node. So click that, and here's the node here. And now these are the Octane render preferences. Let's start by change a few settings here. So normally what I do, I go from the kernel type and I select pet trace, because direct light is the fastest one, but it's just for preview. Direct light does not have features like global illuminations and refractions and things like that. So usually I'm going to use pet trace. I don't need to use PMC. I believe PMC it's needed only when you have like complex caustics and that kind of effect, but we don't have them for this scene, so pet trace is going to be fine. Now max samples, I don't know yet, so the number of samples controls the noise in your scene. I believe this is going to be a fairly bright scene, so I don't think I'm gonna need 5,000 samples. For now I'm gonna set 1,000, but we can play with this later. I'm gonna click on Enable Adaptive Sampling. This basically, what this option will do is gonna look at your image, and the areas that have more noise are gonna be basically it's gonna put more effort rendering the areas with more noise rather than the areas with less noise. So we definitely want to have this enabled. I'm gonna keep the default settings, that's fine. So let's move down. So this is another option. So I'm gonna set the caustic blur to 1 and GI clamp to 1 as well. This is to speed up a little bit the rendering. These are fine. Let's scroll down. I'm gonna check tone map HDR because that's what I want. And let's see, I think for now these options should be fine. If I forget something, I can just go back and change any of these at any time. So let's go to common, and I want to make sure that renderable camera, I don't need the perspective, so I'm gonna remove it. I just need camera 1, which is the Octane camera, and close this. And as a test, I can just click on IPR and see if things are going according to the plans. One thing I forgot to do, so as you can see, this is gonna take some time, and the reason is because I left the hair mesh in the scene. They are visible, so the hair are a lot of polygons. They're over 7 million plus polygons, so those are gonna take quite some time to be compiled, and I believe for now I'm gonna as soon as this is done with the compiling, I think I'm gonna hide them, and I'm gonna keep them on last, because definitely I don't want to wait all this time for the compiling of the hair every time. Unfortunately, Octane currently does not support okay, here it is. Octane does not support the Ornatrix hair, so that's a bit of a bummer. That's why I'm gonna have to use the polygons. Alright, so as you can see, even the response of the camera, it's quite slow because of the hair. Another thing that I want to do, so let me stop this render for a second. Let's go into my hair group and Control H. I'm gonna hide this, and I can show you right away. If I click now on IPR, look how much faster, boom, there it is. So it's already there. So the hair are definitely a huge slowdown, so we're gonna keep them last. Now this is quite dark, and the reason is because I'm gonna select my camera. By default, the Octane camera, which is down here, is using, I'm gonna click on Imager, is using a camera film response. I don't want this, so I'm gonna scroll down and I'm gonna click linear off, and I'm gonna set the gamma from 1 to 2.2, and this is what I want to do. Now the other things that I want to do, it's still pretty dark, and the reason is because I'm gonna have to click here on Octane Sun and Sky. As you can see now, the power of my environment is 0.3. So if I change this to 1, this is much brighter now. For setting up the material of this character, I'm gonna set a test. I'm gonna put here in my texture, instead of having a white background, I'm gonna bring in some a test HDR that I found online, just for testing purposes. And then once I've put all the materials, I'm gonna start making a proper lighting with a bunch of light in the scene, emitting objects, etc. But for now, for setting up the materials, I'm just gonna bring in a HDR texture. So I'm gonna click here when it says texture, and from here I'm gonna scroll down and click on Octane image texture. So click here, and from here I'm gonna select a texture, and I have a bunch of texture that I've either purchased or downloaded for free from the internet. For the time being, I'm gonna go to select something like Bercy Kitchen. This is one of my favorite HDR map. I purchased this a few years ago. The Aversy's HDR collections are amongst my favorite. I definitely recommend you to buy a few of these maps because they're absolutely fantastic. So I'm gonna click on open, and immediately you can see this is blowing out, and that's because the gamma is set on 2.2. Now from regular texture this gamma value is fine, but for HDR the correct gamma is 1, and now we see that the character is looking good, the light is looking good. And so this is the initial setup of my scene. So I'm gonna save this scene, file, save as, and I'm going to select, going to Maya. I have an Octane folder, and I already have my Octane 01 scene, that was the one that I had before. I'm gonna click this Octane 02 and save. So here, there we go. Let me activate the resolution gate here, so I know I can reduce this guy here, like so. Alright, so I can start putting some material on my guy here. So let's start with the head. Actually, no, let's start with the body, and I'm gonna select the body, and up here I have these 3 icons. These are the 3 main material that Octane has. So this is Diffuse Material, this is the Glossy Material, and this is the Specular Material. And this one also is a mix node. This will allows me to apply 2 materials together and blend them together, which is a pretty neat option. I'm gonna definitely use this for the face, the head. But for now, for the suit, I'm going to use just a glossy material. So I'm gonna, with my body selected, I'm gonna click on glossy material like that, and as you can see, this is already changing. Octane has already applied the default settings of this material. You can see it's a little bit shiny. Now I'm gonna go into my Octane Glossy here. I'm gonna rename it, let's see, this is the body bodysuit. Okay, now first of all, let's gonna focus on the texture for this. So I'm gonna drop the diffuse color to black, and I'm gonna pump up the specular to white, and let's see, roughness 0.1, just to get something that will show off the specular really well. Now, if you remember, in a previous video we made a pretty cool looking neat pattern, and I'm gonna use that for my suit. So in here, in the normal, I'm gonna click here, and I'm gonna go to Octane Image Texture to load in a texture map. And from here, if you remember, that was called cotton pattern. Actually, I should rename this. This is the normal map, but I'm gonna click open, and here it is. Obviously now it's enormous because it's applying it to the UVs of this character. So I'm gonna go and change the UVs. So if I click on this node here, the texture node, you see I have this transform node here, which is empty. If I click here, I can insert a transform 2D node, and this will allow me to change the scale of the of my UVs basically. So obviously this is huge at the moment. So let's try with something like 0.005, 0.005, and as you can see, if I zoom in, I have this much smaller scale. If I zoom in very, very closely, that's the scale that I'm using. This is a little bit stretched, so maybe let's see if I change this to 0.4, 0.3, maybe 0.35 or something like this, just to get 0.4. Alright, 0.4 should be fine. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little bit of patterning of going on here, which is pretty cool. Now if you notice in this area here, let me zoom in, you can see this blockiness right here, right? And this is because Octane is taking this my low poly mesh and is rendering very accurately. So even if I have smooth normal, I have this blockiness going on here. So one way to fix this is to add 1 or 2 level of subdivision in the render. So I'm gonna go to my body mesh shape, and there's a node called Octane Attributes here. So I'm gonna open this, and if I scroll down, there is this open subd level. By default is set on 0, but if I set it to, let's say, 2, and I refresh the IPR, there you go. Now it's very smooth. So what is happening here is Octane is internally subdividing my mesh using Disney open subdiv algorithm. So now I got my very smooth mesh with my pattern applied. So if I zoom here, you can see that there's a little bit of pattern here going on, which is pretty cool. And so this is looking, the body is looking pretty nice. Obviously the color is not correct, and the specular is not correct. I can just go in and select a different color. Let's see, something like this maybe. This is just a preliminary setup. I'm definitely let's see, 360 roughness. I'm gonna definitely go here and tweak these parameters later. Maybe I can increase a little bit of the let's see, if I zoom in, maybe this pattern is a little bit stronger. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna click on my normal map, and you have a power slider here. I can set this to 0.5, so it's gonna halve the size of half the height of my normal, the intensity. So something like maybe even lower, something like 0.3. Basically, I just want to have something that looks barely visible. So if I move here, I can still see it a little bit, maybe even 0.1 or 0.2. something like this. If I zoom in, I can still see it a little bit in there, but basically what I want is to see it only in the specular, which is exactly what is happening. So this is done for now. Again, I will tweak everything like colors and specular intensity and etc. I will tweak that later, but this is just to give you a overall look on how to set up the materials in Octane. So let's move on, and let's go with the logo. So we already had the logo set it up in a previous Maya scene, so I'm gonna show you what can we do to just import that made material in this scene. So I'm gonna quickly open the scene with the logo, and I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do. Okay, this is the scene with the logo that I did in a previous video. So few of you might not know that you can actually copy paste items, objects and nodes from one session of Maya to another. So what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna select my object that has this Octane Glossy Material, which actually I'm gonna rename to Octane logo, just so we know what this is. And if I click Ctrl C, and now I switch back to my other scene here, and I click Ctrl V, I've basically pasted this group here, and this contains exactly that plane with that material. So now if I select my actual logo on his chest, which is here, I can right click, and if I go to assign existing material, you can see I have a pasted Octane logo. So this is exactly the material that we had, as you can see, in the previous scene. So it's pretty quick way to copy paste things from one scene to another. So now if I go here and I click on IPR, there it is. Here's the logo that we created in the previous scene. It already have all the parameters set, transparency and whatnot. So if I zoom in, you can see he has the that sheen, that all these streaks that we made in that video, which is pretty neat. Again, I might go and tweak them further once I made the actual light, but for now I just wanted to have it in here in the scene. So I'm gonna save this, and now let's move on to the gloves. So for the gloves, we baked the texture, the normal map. So let's select our gloves here, both of them, and I'm gonna go to my Octane materials, and I'm gonna assign a new glossy material. Click here, and again let's rename this. This is gonna be Octane gloves, so I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna set this to black, specular to white, and now let's zoom in. So first thing we're gonna do, we are gonna go here, and in the normal map slot, let's import the normal map that we baked before. So it was into here, bake, so that was called gloves normal. So if I click open, okay, if I move here and zoom, let's see, might be difficult to see because of the reflection, so Let me set the roughness. Let me increase the brightness here and set the roughness to something like 0.2. You can see that, let's see, if you zoom here, you can see that the details of my normal maps are appearing here in the gloves. Let me rotate the HDR map so we can see better what's going on. So if I select the Octane Sun and Sky, I go here into my HDR texture, and in the transform node I'm gonna plug a transform 2D, and I'm gonna set the translation to something like I don't know, 0.5 maybe. That's too much. 0.3. Let's see, where is my, okay, 0.4. Okay, so I want maybe a little bit more. Okay, so if I zoom here, you can clearly see that, zoom a little bit more, you can clearly see that the normal map has been loaded. I have my the crease here in the gloves that I've exported from my high poly sculpt, and once again you can kind of see that this is low poly. You can see here the if I zoom here on the thumb, for example, you can clearly see that this is low poly. You can see these harsh polygons here. So once again, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select my glove here, and in the left glove mesh shape node, again I'm gonna increase, let's see, 1 might be enough. Refresh the IPR. Now if I zoom to the glove, you can see now it's much smoother. It's much rounder and smoother. So I'm gonna do the same with the other glove. Select here, open subdiv level 1, and refresh my IPR. Perfect. Okay. And let's go back here. Let's bring back my HDR rotation where it was before. So now the normal map is in place, but one thing that I want to add is a little bit of noise to these gloves. So if I go back, let's set roughness back to 0 and set this black. If I zoom in now, you can see that this is super shiny. Obviously I can go and add some roughness to it, which it might be enough. Actually, let's see. The roughness alone might be enough, but for the sake of this video, I'm gonna set back 1 second to 0. I'm gonna show you that you can actually add some noise in the Octane material. So if I go here on bump node and click here, there is this Octane noise texture. So this is a procedural noise. So if I select it, as you can see, by default, let me zoom in even further. As you can see that now I have this noise surface applied to my glove, and I can go here and change these parameters. I can change the number of octaves. I can change the omega value that will make the noise harsh. So that's a pretty neat way of add noise. And also the noise type, I have Perlin, Turbulent, Circular, and Chips. I think I'm gonna just leave the default options, which it's probably, let's see, something like this. Maybe it's gonna be enough. So as you can see that adding noise, it's another way that the roughness of the surface is going to be affected, clearly. So it's up to you to decide if you want the roughness done by the noise, or just use the roughness parameter that it's in here. I kind of like the bump, but I'm probably gonna go and add anyway a little bit of roughness, something like 0.05, just to get it slightly more rough. And that's it. These are the gloves done. Again, I will fine tweak them once I'm gonna start making the lighting. So, oh, there it. I forgot that I have the logo here. This is the logo that I've imported before. I don't need to see it, so I can hide it. So let's move on, and let's go with the belt. So I'm gonna select the belt, and I'm gonna select another glossy material. Here it is. Now the belt is probably gonna be, let me rename this here, Octane belt. It's probably gonna be kind of plastic looking. So let's see, I'm just gonna add a little bit of roughness, and then I'm gonna set the color to something like this for now. Alright, and again, I'm gonna tweak this once I got the actual lighting. I'm probably gonna increase the index of refraction, something like 0.5 or even more, just to get a little bit more reflections going on. And also I might want to add a little bit of color in the specular to make it look slightly more metallic. I'll figure this out later. For now, let's increase the subdivision for this object as well. So open subdiv 1, it's probably enough. Let's see, let's refresh. Okay, so now it's a little bit smoother. And now the trousers, or the pants on top of the suit, they need to use the same material as the red suit, so only the color is gonna be different. So first of all, let's match the subdivision. That was 2, and refresh, so I'm not gonna get this weird artifact going on. Alright, there it is. And what I can do, I can go to my window and rendering editors and Hypershade. So in here I have my materials. So the body is the one that I want to duplicate. So what I'm gonna do, I don't need to see this guy, but whatever. Let's close this option here. So I'm gonna select my Octane body material. I'm gonna go to File, Edit, Duplicate Shading Network. And now I have a new Octane body suit. It's called bodysuit 1. And I'm gonna rename this to Octane pants. And I'm gonna set the color to black for now. So this is gonna have the same exact detail texture of our trousers. So if I right click on my pants here, assign existing material, Octane pants, and here it is. And if I zoom in, you can see that it's using the same exact tiling with the pattern that we used for the suit. So you can see it's exactly the same. So that's great. Let me just set this like this. All right. Let me save this. And another thing that I can do for the boot. So the boot, basically, I want to have the same noise as the gloves. So I can either duplicate the node here. So let's do this. So if I go back to my rendering editor, again Hypershade, and I'm going to select my gloves, Octane gloves, and edit, duplicate, shading networks, and I'm going to rename this to Octane boots. Okay, and I'm gonna go down here, select both of my boots, right click, and I'm going to assign the boots. Let's see. Okay, I'm getting an error here. Let's find out what it is. It says there's no object matching that name. Let's go back to Hypershade. What happened? Okay, why does not seems like for some reason Maya is not allowing me to do this. Okay, now it is. All right, well, who knows what happened there. So the only difference is that obviously since I've duplicated the glove materials, the boots, they're gonna have the normal map that the gloves were using, and I don't want that, so I'm gonna right click and break connection. So the normal map is now gone from the boots, but if I zoom in very closely, the bump, let me go very, very close, the bump texture, it's still there, and it's exactly the same as the gloves. So one thing I might want to do again is increase the level of subdivision here, because if I move here, you can clearly see here that it's low poly. You can see these steps here, and I don't want that. So again, boot shape, I'm gonna set this to 1 and refresh the IPR, and now it's round. And I'm gonna do the same on this one, subdiv level 1. I could probably go with 2, but 1 is enough. Alright, and now it's much rounder. Yeah, maybe I'm gonna go with 2 with this one. 2, select this guy, and 2, and refresh, just to have a little bit smoother. If I move here, now it's nice and round and very, very smooth. All right, looking good. So save, and now let's move on. Oh, I forgot the color. So the color is gonna have to use the same as the pants. So I'm gonna right click and assign Octane pants. So once again, if I zoom in, this is gonna use the same exact texture. I might want to go and change this because let's see, it looks like the size, yeah, it looks like the size of this pattern here, it's bigger than the one I'm using here, so I might want to go and change the UVs for this guy. So let's see, if I go to custom, and well, I mean, you don't have the same custom tool, but you can even go to UV, and there is the UV editor up here. I just have it here. So let's see. So here are my colors UVs, and what I can do, I can just select these guys and scale it up a little bit. Now if I refresh my IPR, this should appear much smaller. Yeah, that's much better looking. If I zoom here, you can see that now this is much smaller. Looks much better. This needs to be barely visible anyway, so alright. And also I'm gonna increase the subdivision level to 2 and refresh, so I get nice smooth line here. Alright, I'm gonna save this, and now let's move on to the face. Now the face is gonna be a little bit more complicated because the face is gonna use a subsurface scattering material. So for that, I'm gonna do I'm gonna use a mixed material node. One thing I just realized is that I actually forgot when I baked my the face, I actually wanted to bake the mask as well, so I'm gonna do that later because the mask is very thin. I don't really need to have a another polygon on top of this. I can just use the same texture for the face. So I'm gonna bake that later. But for now, what I want to do, let's create the head material first. So the way I make subsurface scattering in Octane, it's very simple. I like simple nodes. You can download, if you click this button here, it will open up the LiveDB material. You can find a bunch of organic. If you go into skin, these are material made by users. They're free to use. You can download them, try them, and some of them it's very good. There are a bunch of skin, human skin and stuff like that, but I usually always create my own shaders, because most of the time these shaders here are quite complex. They have lots of nodes, and I don't quite like that, so I don't use it. So I'm gonna show you how I make my subsurface scattering material. So I'm gonna select my head, and first of all I'm gonna start with a diffuse node, diffuse material. So I'm gonna click that, and my face turned gray because this is my gray material, diffuse. Now I'm gonna rename this Octane SSS. Now I'm gonna set the color to black and the transmission all the way up. and I'm gonna get this interesting looking material. You see like how the light is already scattering through, but it looks quite it looks almost like it's made of jelly or something like that, which is kind of cool, but it's not quite what I want. So here in the medium node, I'm gonna click here, and I'm gonna add this scattering medium. Now obviously we are gonna have to play with these parameters. So by default, invert absorption is turned on. I'm gonna uncheck this, and instead of putting just a value, I'm gonna click here, and I'm gonna grab an Octane RGB spectrum texture. This is basically a RGB color node, and I'm gonna put something like, let's see, something like this. Now I can't really see what's going on yet, but I'll go back and change it soon. So as soon as I start increasing my scattering here, if I set this to 1, you can see that I start to have some skin color going on, but that's not quite what I want. So let's go back here, and what I basically want is a dark red color. So intensity, let's see, what can we do here? Okay, so let's reduce the intensity. So I want to have something that looks very, very soft, as you can see, kind of like this. But again, the scattering color, I don't want it. I wanted this to be more towards a strong red. So let's see what this is doing. So it's something like this, maybe. Okay, something like this might work. So the reason why when I put blue here and you see the inverse color here, is just because this is the way that Octane works. So the light that is absorbed will give you the inverse color compared to the one that you choose here. If I go here and choose a red material, this is going to become blue. So just to let you know how this works. Now for now this might be good enough. I might, let's see, might go, no, 1 is good enough. For now I'm gonna keep this material here. One thing to notice is that this scattering option is gonna be modulated with another material that is gonna have the color textures. So I'm gonna show you how to do that, but first let me bring in the normal map that we made. So I'm gonna click on the normal map slot here, image, and let's load in the head normal. Okay, now it might seems that it's not noticeable, but it's actually there. So if I zoom here and let the noise clear up a little bit, you should start seeing a little bit of the details of the normal map that I've baked before. They might be quite hard to see because the scattering is very high, but it's there. So usually I keep it also in the subsurface scattering node. Now let's also increase the subdivision level. So I'm going to select my head, go to head mesh shape, and set this to, let's start with 1, and just to get it a little bit smoother. Alright, so this is what we have now. Obviously, clearly this is not the final result that we want. So now I'm going to select again my head, and I'm going to apply a mix material node. So I'm going to click here, and my head turned white. So the mix node, and it's here, it uses 2 inputs here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to type in the material 1 the name Octane SSS. I think it was uppercase, Octane SSS. No. All right. Let's pick it up from here. So let's go to Hypershade. Well, it is called Octane SSS, but for some reason typing the name doesn't work. So let's just drag this guy in here, and if I refresh my IPR, it's actually this guy here. There it is. So now I basically plugged, you can see material 1 and material 2. So, and this is the amount of blending. So if I set it to 1, it's going to be 100% my SSS material. If I set it to 0, it's going to be my material 2, that at the moment there's nothing in here. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to add a glossy material, and I'm going to click Octane head skin. Okay, so now from here, first of all, in the diffuse, I'm going to plug my texture map that I baked before. So it's gonna be in here, and it's the head albedo. Click open, and here it is. And again, I'm gonna plug the same normal map that I used before, which is still in here, head normal. Alright, and the specular, I'm gonna set it to 1, and the roughness, I'm gonna put something like 0.2 for now, maybe even 0.3, I don't know, I'm gonna play with it a little bit. So now if I zoom in, this is very plasticky looking. So now basically the only thing left to do is going to be play around with the slider that mixes both Octane SSS and Octane head skin. So if I move this to, let's say, 0.5, what it's going to do is going to blend 50% my subsurface scattering with 50% of the specular material here. This is still way too much, so something like 0.2 maybe, and again maybe 0.3. I just want to have a little bit of that subsurface there. Oops, that was it. So if I move here just to see the nose, what's going on here in the nose. As you can see, the more I increase this slot, the more my material become subsurface looking. So I need to find the right balance between these two guys here, and maybe what I want to do, I want to go back into my subsurface skin and playing a little bit with these values. So if I want this to be a little bit more yellow, I can move this toward blue, and this too will change it more towards yellow, a yellowish color. If I set this, you can see better that now it's a little bit more yellow compared to what it was before. And it's all about tweaking these parameters with also the amount of texture that I want. So this is going to be tweaked further when I make the final lighting. So for now, I'm just going to keep it like this. You can see it's quite soft. Let me find a good spot here. It appears quite soft, but it still has the normal map details. If I zoom in very closely here to the face, once the noise clears up, if you look here, he has the details as well as here. He has all the details that I've sculpted in ZBrush. They're all transferred in the head, as you can see here. It looks pretty nice. Now I'm noticing that inside the mouth, it's becoming a little bit white, and the reason is because if I isolate my head and look inside, Octane renders the inside normals white when the subsurface is applied. So since my mouth, there's basically a cut here in my mouth that it's peeking inside, you can see a little bit of the white there. So maybe what I'm gonna do, I'm going to add later some fake geometry just to make some shadow to block this white to block this white coming out from his mouth, which is obviously quite unnatural. But you can already see all the details already, like the noise that we put in ZBrush, it's there. The lips, the detail on the lips is there. The wrinkles on the face is there. The nostril, everything is there where it's supposed to be. And so this is pretty good. So now basically this is our character, and let's save this. One last thing I want to do, I'm gonna assign the texture here to the eyes. So for the eyes, this is a cartoony character, so I'm not gonna make realistic looking eyes. I'm just gonna make a simple glossy material. I'm gonna call this eyes, and the specular is gonna be 1, and I'm just gonna assign the same head texture that I had before, which also contained the eyes. So head albedo, here they are, and if I zoom in, you can see they're reflecting the environment, so that's good. And I'm gonna tweak these guys later. I might want to go, if the white area is too bright, I might want to go here and maybe set this to, I don't know, 0.7 to get a little bit less white area. but again, this is gonna be tweaked once I make the final lighting. And another thing that I want to do, first of all, let's also set this to level 1 of subdivision, and also the eyelids that are gonna have 1 level of subdivision. Let's see. Alright, just to get them nice and round, like so. So the eyelids are gonna be part of the mask. And now for the mask, let's see. So I think I'm gonna, let me see what I can do with the mask. I can just, well, I think I can just export it from ZBrush and add it on top of everything. I might need to bake the normal map for the mask as well, so I'm gonna do that, and I'll see you in a second. I'm gonna pause the video, export the mask, bake the normal map like I did before, and bring it into Maya. Alright, I'm back, and what I've done, I've exported the mask, and I've baked the texture, the normal map, like we did before. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna bring this guy in here, because I want it to be in the same texture as the face, and we can leave it there and save this guy. Alright, now if I go back to Maya, I'm gonna select my mask, and I'm gonna apply a glossy material like that. Actually, what I can do, I can just duplicate the glove materials once again, and change the normal map. So to do that, once again, I'm gonna go to the rendering editor's Hypershade, and so the glove material is here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to edit and duplicate shaded network once again. So I'm gonna get another duplicated material here. I'm gonna call this Octane Mask, and I'm going to assign this guy, oops, no, not here. I'm gonna assign Octane Mask to my mask object, and then obviously I need to change the normal map. So instead of using the gloves, I'm gonna use the head one. So head normal map, and there it is. So if I zoom in, I should be getting the details that I baked. Don't see them at the moment. Oh, that's right, I need to reload the texture, and now here they are. Here I have my normals from the mask. The noise might be a little big, so I'm just gonna go back in here, and I'm gonna change the noise. Let's see, something like this maybe could do. Yeah, that looks better. So okay, the mask is done, and for the eyebrows I'm gonna apply the same material as the boots. So I have matching materials. Again, the noise here might be, let's see, actually it looks fine. Looks fine, yeah. Alright, so here I have it. The mask is done. I'm gonna save. And now the last thing that I need to do is the hair. So again, the hair are gonna take quite some time to be compiled. So let's see. I'll save again just to be sure, because they might crash. So I'm gonna click on my hair group and I'm going to unhide it, and let's see how much time it will take. So now Octane basically is gonna go and compile this massive geometry. There's a lot of polygons going on here with the hair. So let's see, on my old machine, my computer is 6 years old, so I don't expect to get, if you have a newer computer, the compiling time could be quite faster compared to what I have here. It's still pretty heavy because we are talking about millions of polygons to be compiled. Okay, here it is. And let's see, as you can see, triangle, it's nearly 8 million triangles. So okay, here we have our hair mesh. And so for the hair, what I'm gonna do, I'm going to apply a specular material. So again, there's many ways that you can deal with the hair, and the way I do is by using a specular material. So with the hair selected, select this hair, I'm gonna apply this specular material here. Okay, so I'm gonna go to Octane Specular. I'm gonna call this Octane Hair. Unfortunately, Octane does not have yet a physically based hair material, so I'm gonna have to create my own. So let's go and zoom in a little bit. Let's bring this guy down and something like that. And also what I can do, I can activate render region. To do that, I'm gonna select the camera. I'm gonna scroll down to Octane Camera. Now go down, and I need to do two things. First of all, I need to uncheck, no, actually autofocus can be leave there. I need to uncheck use big focus region. By doing this, if I drag here, this is gonna be the only area where Octane is gonna do my render. So if I zoom in a little bit, you will see that this is the only area that is refreshed. So now let's go back to our hair material, Octane hair, and let's play around with this. So transmission, let's set it to 1 for now. So we're gonna have this nice white hair. So he has blonde hair, so the transmission actually should be a color. So I'm gonna go and plug here an RGB spectrum, and set something like this maybe. I'm not quite sure. Something like that perhaps. Alright, and again I'm gonna further tweak this material later, and the reflection should be white, or yeah, let's leave it white for now. And if I click on fake shadows, this might be a little bit too bright. Actually, I'm gonna let's see. Doesn't seem to make a huge difference, but I'm gonna leave it unchecked because I do want to have the shadows generated from this. And let's see, roughness 0.05. Let's see how this will look. Okay, something like that maybe, or can go half of that just to get it a little bit more shiny. And let's see what it looks like from the other side. Okay, it doesn't look too bad. So let's see what we have for now. Go back to my camera, and I'm going to re-click on use pick focal region to remove the render region there. So if I zoom back, let's see what we got so far. Alright, it's not looking too bad. Maybe the hair are a little bit too bright. I don't think his hair are that bright, but again, I'm gonna tweak it further when I make the final lighting. But so far, it's not that bad. Let's see from this side. Let's move the camera here a little bit. Let's see what we got. Let's see, it's gonna, obviously with this much hair, the render is gonna be quite slower, much slower than before. The specular here is too high, so definitely I might want to go and increase the roughness here, something like 0.5 maybe, and I can go in the transmission and set this a little bit towards orange. Maybe something like that looks a little bit better, and the specular seems still it looks way too shiny. So maybe let's go roughness of 0.1. See what we get. And I can also, if I change the reflection instead of white to slightly yellowish color, it's probably gonna look better overall. So kind of like that. So it's looking pretty good. And alright, so I think, yeah, that's looking better. I might want to go and increase the roughness even further, maybe something like 0.2. I don't want the hair to look particularly shiny, so let's see. And it's looking pretty good. Let me zoom out. Let's put the camera here. As you can see, it's with the hair, the camera response is much slower, so that's expected. Alright, it's started to look pretty good. Obviously, the material needs to be tweaked further. The suit is not quite right. I actually might want to go and change a little bit of the reflection color, because if I remember correctly, the suit is a little bit more orangey color, so I think I'm gonna go and the specular here, I'm gonna add RGB, and I'm gonna change this to something like I don't know, some orangey, a little bit more orange reddish color. Might look a little bit better. So I'm gonna save this, and I'm gonna go and tweak further. I'm gonna pause the video now. I'm gonna tweak further the materials and put some proper lighting, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna show you what I did. So I'll see you there. Okay, I'm finally back. As you can see, the scene is a little bit different. The tweaking session took actually several hours, so this it was something that I could not have recorded. It would have been the most boring video ever. So I'm just gonna walk you through what I did in this scene, all the changes that I've made, so you can have an idea of what I've done. First of all, the body material, I changed it with a mixed material, and in the first material I put a glossy material with a color red, and the same normal map that I used before for the cloth details. And on the other material, it's a different glossy material with different parameters. I have this orange specular here going on, and the way that I blend them together, you might have noticed that instead of the 0 to 1 slider, I have this Octane Full-Off Texture. So if I click my node, these are the settings. Basically, what this does, it generates, it creates basically, it uses one material to display towards the camera, and one material that it displays on the edges. Basically, creates some sort of effect, like a little bit of a silky, velvety kind of effect. It's very subtle, but it works nice with this material. And another thing that you might notice are these planes all over the place. So these planes are actually meshes that emit light. So if I select one of these and I go here in the material, you can see it's a simple diffuse material. There are no textures assigned, but here in the emission I have a black body emission. So if I click this node, you can see temperature, power, and these other settings. So each one of these planes was used to generate a specific light in a specific place, and all of these planes are invisible to the camera, so you can see them in the viewport, but once you hit the render, none of them is visible. It's just only the light that emit is visible. So let's see what I've got. Click on my IPR, and here it is. So let me just set here, and this is the final result. So let's let Octane render a little bit. This is my renderable camera, and this is what I've got. Now this is just a low sample preview. It's quite noisy. For the final render, I used this 4K resolution. Took about the 4K final image took about 30 minutes or so of render on my GTX 980, and I'm gonna show you the result in Photoshop. Okay, and here it is. This is the final result. So let's go to 100%. So this is what I've got after also a few tweaks in Photoshop. I think it looks pretty cool, and I made a couple of versions of this. One is this one with the white background, like the reference images that I used before, and also I made this version here, which is a little bit more saturated color, a little bit stronger contrast. They're both pretty cool, I think. I am pretty happy on how it turned out to be, and if you compare, let me re-get this version here. So if we compare it with my original reference images, so this one is the one made by Pixar, and this is mine. So obviously you can clearly see the differences. There is some different proportions going on, although I do believe that they probably have retouched the proportions for this particular images, because they don't really match what I see in the movie, but that's not important. What it matters is that overall they're fairly close, so I'm pretty happy with the result. So let's get rid of that, and so here you have it. This is finally the final image of our Mr. Incredible character. This was a little bit of a long journey that I enjoyed doing, and I'm gonna post these images in full resolution on my ArtStation page, so you can check it out. I will post the link in the description, and I hope this series of videos was interesting and you find it helpful. And for now, we can say that I'm gonna finish Mr. Incredible. Maybe one last thing I can do, I can try to convert this guy into a real-time asset for a real-time engine, let's say Unreal Engine or Marmoset Viewer or any other real-time application. So I might want to go and convert the hair from high poly to low poly cards and redo the UVs and project all the other texture for be able to export it into a real-time engine. But the main purpose of this first series of videos was to get a fairly close to the original image, and I think that I succeeded. Again, obviously it's not identical, but I quite like how it turned out to be. So thank you for watching. Thank you if you stayed since the beginning, if you watch all the video, and if you like what I'm doing, if you want to see more videos, more content, please hit the subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, and I see you in the next video. Thank you.